Welcome to the Holistic Kid Show. My name is Zane.
My name is Dula.
And my name is Imad.
So we're the Holistic Kids, here to educate us kids from the inside out. Anxiety, depression in kids have skyrocketed. 1 in every 4 teens said that they were almost constantly, and by 2022, those numbers have nearly doubled to 46%.
Us kids are living in a phone-based childhood, and it's becoming a set of consequences. What are we going to do? This seems like it is getting out of control. I walk through the hallways in between classes.
No, that's me. I walk through the hallways in between classes and no one is looking at each other. People can't even make eye contact anymore without getting uncomfortable. We are all face down in our phones. And the sad thing is that adults are also doing it as well.
You're right. This is why we have with us an honor of speaking to the lead researcher of the amazing New York Times bestseller, The Anxious Generation, how the great rewiring of childhood is causing an epidemic of mental illness.
Mr. Zach Rausch is an associate research scientist at NYU-Stern School of Business, lead researcher to social psychologist Jonathan Haidt for the book, The Anxious Generation, which we have right here. How the great rewiring of childhood is causing an epidemic of mental health, and a researcher for the Center of Humane Technology. Zach's research and writing have been featured and cited internationally in outlets such as The Atlantic, the New Yorker, and The Times. He has also given expert testimony to multiple state legislatures on the impact of social media on adolescent mental health. So thank you so much for joining us today.
This is a huge honor.
A huge honor.
It is a huge honor on my side to be here to talk to you. This is very exciting. Thank you.
This book is amazing. And it talks about the great rewiring. What is that, though?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the setup of the book that John and I wrote is that kids who were born after 1995. So just before I dive in, just what year were the three of you born?
I was born 2007.
2010.
2013.
Great. So everybody who was born after 1995, what we argue is part of the generation Gen Z. Now, there's also Generation Alpha, which came a little later, around 2012. But what we argue in the book is that kids born after 1995 are generally grew up in a very, very different world than those who were born before that. So the millennials, which I'm a part of, I'm a young millennial. I was born in 1994. And the book argues that 2 things really changed during this period. And that is that we began, and this started a little earlier, overprotecting kids in the real world and underprotecting them online. And so right around between 2010 to 2015 is when teens moved their social lives onto smartphones and social media platforms. And so, Abdullah, like you said, it was a period when at school, for example, we moved from interacting with people in person into our lives are mostly online. And we argue that from 2010 to 2015, we moved from having a play-based childhood where we're mostly spending time in person, playing with friends, unsupervised much of the time, into a world where we're spending 7 to 9 hours on screens, on phones, on social media, and that it has rewired the nature of social relationships and has been really harmful to the mental health of young people. And that's the core message of the book, and I'm excited to dive into it.
So what exactly does the great rewiring mean? Like, what is, like you said, how is this affecting our mental health?
Yeah, so in terms of mental health, we can just, to kind of give a baseline, let's just, one of the starting points we always look at is what was the kind of base rate of mental health around 2010, and then how quickly that changed up till around 2019 before COVID started. And so when we look at, for example, major depressive episodes in the United States among adolescents, so 12 to 17 years old, rates more than doubled for both boys and girls. And the rates are typically a lot higher for young girls. In terms of actual self-harm emergency department visits, that has more than tripled for preteen girls since 2010. And suicide rates also have more than doubled. And so we've seen quite a spike in these mental health problems, all starting around the same time. And it happened in many countries around the world. And in fact, we're working with this economist who has shown that in 82 countries around the world today, what used to be true is that young people tended to have very good mental health, and then it tends to get worse as you get a little older. You become a parent, life gets a little harder, and then middle age, it's the lowest, and then you get happier as you get older. But now that's no longer true. All around the world, what we found is that young people are now reporting the worst mental health across all age groups. And this all happened right around 2010 to 2015 at this big change. And we argue that there are many different ways that smartphones and social media and the online world are harming young people, both to what they are doing, but also to what they're taking away. So we can talk about that, but I'd also love to hear about your own experiences and what you agree with, what you disagree with. But that's the big picture.
Yeah, I think you're so right. Like mental health in children and teenagers has skyrocketed. I mean, it's like everywhere now. It's become a really big problem. But in the book, you talk about you research the anxious generation. So what does anxiety have to do with this?
That's a great question. So the way that I like to think about this is what happens when we move our social lives onto these platforms. Now, before 2010, social media in particular was more about networking with people that you knew. So when I was younger, so around like 2006 is when Facebook came out, and you kind of, you had a profile and you could see a few people, but it really started to change around 2009, 2010. And that's when you got things like the like button on Facebook, the retweet button on Twitter. You got a front-facing camera in 2010 and an Instagram account, Snapchat's coming in. You're getting this whole new world. And what it changed, the real dynamic change, is that it moved from a social networking system, which is what we used to call it, into a social media platform. A social media platform is where you are standing essentially on a virtual stage, platforming yourself to an audience to be judged. And so now it's like we're all kind of in a movie and people are watching us and judging us. And that is an extraordinarily stressful thing, especially when we're so young. And so now our lives are kind of being live streamed. They're being judged by both strangers and our friends. And we're constantly aware of this, and things can last forever. And so this kind of upbringing, this kind of life, it makes it, you don't really want to take any risks, because if I say the wrong thing, if I do the wrong thing, it'll go online. And it's much crueler in that world. And the other side of the story, so one, that kind of experience is very anxiety inducing. On the other side, there's also the overprotection in the real world. So while all this stuff is happening online, there's also been a big clampdown on how much time kids spend together in person with friends. Parents become more worried about kids going out and playing on their own out on the streets. And all of that kind of play, real world interaction, you make a lot of mistakes, but they're low cost. It's not like you're being live streamed and it's going up and you can be judged by everyone. Mm-hmm. And that kind of in-person play is so important to developing kind of a sense of internal strength and overcoming anxiety. And so both of these forces, the overprotection in the real world and the underprotection online, is really what we argue is driving a lot of this anxiety that we're seeing among young people.
Yeah, I think that's so important to talk about, right, Zen?
It is really important to talk about.
I mean, what's so
There's
crazy...
There's a lot of... Yeah.
So keep going, Zen?
That's okay.
No, but I was going to say that even in middle school, right?
Yes.
So
Mm.
what's happening?
Tell me more.
Well, in middle school, lots of kids, are on the phone. But the thing is, for my school, it's not as bad as the
Tech violation.
high school. Yeah, there's just tech violations because phones are banned inside school, so it's not as bad as in high school. But it's it's bad like when it comes to like home and stuff because they brag.
So in your high school, the phones are just, you can have them throughout the day?
In my high school, yes, you can. You can carry them with you. You can take them to class. As long as you're not using them when the teacher's talking, then it's fine. But I've seen people literally, like, if the teacher tells them to put them in their bag, they literally, like, they kind of freak out. They're like, what? What do you mean put in my bag? No. Can I just keep it on my table? Can I just keep it here? But no, it's horrible now.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, just on in your experience, how is that impacting school overall?
Well, kids are now less focused. We have less attention span, right? We can barely look at the teacher for 5 minutes without without zoning out, right? And so that's one of the factors. And also, just I think social media is now, even though we're more connected than ever, we're still lonely. We're still more lonely than ever as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So I just wanted to have your opinion on this. I mean, you were saying about how bad this. We're basically putting ourselves on a spotlight for everyone to see. But do you think that people know this? And if they knew this, what can they do about it? Because obviously, from the outside view, it seems so bad, but everyone's doing it.
It's a great question, and I think the key insight that we're trying to bring forth from our book is that we're stuck in what's called a collective action problem, a collective action trap. And the idea here is that because everybody is on, so not everybody, but most people are on social media. And so it's really hard. And I think you guys are a little different, but it's really hard to not be on smartphones and social media because everybody else is on it.
Exactly.
And so because everybody else is on it, then you're making a choice to either be socially disconnected from your friends or to choose to be off the platforms. And to be a parent and also to make that choice, it can be very hard and very costly. And so that is a big reason why we still have so many people spending all this time on these platforms, even though it's harmful. And I just want to share one experiment that I thought was so interesting, and I'd love to see what you guys think, which was last year, a study was done, I think it was the University of Chicago, and they asked about 1,000 American college students how much money it would cost for them to get off of Instagram or TikTok for a month. And they said $50, right? So that's kind of a lot of money, right?
Yeah. Only $50?
Only $50, maybe, yeah. But then they asked the question again, and they said, how much money would it take to get off of Instagram and TikTok for a month? And that, but they changed the wording at the end. They said, what if we also got everybody else on your campus to do so as well? Then the answer actually went into the negative numbers, meaning that the students said, we will pay you, the researchers, to get people off. So what it's saying is that the kids are trapped. They don't want to be on the platform, but they can't coordinate with each other to get off of it. And that's really the idea of the collective action. And that's where all of our ideas for solutions is about how do we work together to solve this.
So why is play important? You mentioned play earlier, right? So what do you mean by play? Like, you mean like playing Roblox and Call of Duty, FIFA, or like Minecraft? But what do you mean? Or is that what you mean, or you mean something else? Because now that's all kids are doing. They are playing, but not outside, right?
Play? Okay, I'll play.
So when I talk about play, and when we talk about play in the book, play is the work of childhood. If you see any other mammal, puppies or kittens, you see that they are playing all day long, and they do this day after day. And this is what all mammals do. And we are a very unique species where we have 7 to 10 years of childhood where we are just super motivated to play. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about self-organized play. So I create a game and I have to manage the rules with my friends. I need to negotiate conflict. It's with the same kids. And this is how we build our social skills, our social resilience. Now, what you said is such an important point about Minecraft and Roblox. That is play, but one of the issues with it is it often gives you the benefits of play without the work that comes along with play that is so important, like having to negotiate the rules and to create the games. This is something that is very important to learn how to govern yourselves. Creating a game of baseball in the backyard and having to manage it on your own is a key idea when we talk about play.
And how do you think that kids can start to play again? I mean, like when it comes to play, I think kids are even confused. They're like, I'm bored, I don't know what to do. It says, go play. It says, play how? Right, Imad?
Yeah.
Yeah, like play how?
How am I supposed to play?
Yeah.
Well, so that's so sad.
It is so sad, yeah.
But the key idea in the book is that play is intrinsic to human beings. It is something that we have evolved over millions of years, and we just need to be given the chance to play. And one of the problems is that because one, so many kids are spending so much time on screens, and two, there's not that many opportunities to just get together and play, that we're kind of blocking that ability. And so we and John Haidt, who I work with, and Lenore Skenazy has started an organization called Let Grow. And it's a nonprofit that works to encourage more independence, free play in the real world. And the key is that we think it can really happen at schools, where before school or after school, you open up the playground for 30 minutes, an hour, and you have one adult there who can kind of be the lifeguard if anything really bad happens. But then, you just have some stuff there, and then you just let kids play and they figure it out and you learn over time. And I what do you guys think about that idea? If you in middle school, elementary school?
It's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like recess with the playgrounds and stuff has been lost in middle school and high school. So that's why we see during middle school and high school, people are more on the phones all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
They've lost their play because they don't have recess anymore in middle school.
Yeah, this is it's a big thing that I believe that we've forgotten, is that one of the key learning objectives in schools is for social emotional learning. And we have all sorts of classes to do this, but the best place to do that and to get those skills is recess. We need more recess. Mm-hmm. It is such an important thing for boys, for girls, getting out, playing, and engaging with each other.
Yeah, and play is so important. So basically what you're saying is that if we disconnect from our devices, we can automatically start playing more.
We need to do it together, right?
True,
so
yes.
If you do it by yourself, well, it's going to be really hard because everybody else is going to be online. And if you are also in a place where, there's a lot of fear around kids just playing outside on their own, that's also going to make it hard. So we need to do both. We need to provide the space and the opportunity to play, but also not to let all of the technology block our experiences. Even so, like you're saying, even if you are given recess, if everybody's just on their phones, well, that's not going to solve this either. So it has to be together.
So what do you say to all the parents that think play is, not important at all? It's useless. Do work, right?
Yeah. What'd you say to them?
So,
So say that one more time. I missed it.
What do you say to the parents that think that play is not beneficial? It's not important at all. It's just a waste of time. You should just work.
Well, so one, if you want kids who are self-confident, who feel that they can navigate social relationships, the social world, if you want them to be able to be cognitively flexible, to be able to be creative, you gain all those skills through play. It might seem like a silly thing, but play is so fundamental. And if we all just take a moment to think back to when we were young, if you're a parent, typically the best times in our lives is when we were out playing with our friends on adventures, when we have responsibility and taking risks and thrills. Those are the memories that make life worth living. And those are the things that I think we really need to prioritize. And I believe that with those skills, with those skill sets, it'll help you as you mature into an adult and get that independence to live out wherever you want to go.
We kids need to start to play. It improves our brains and body health. It increases BDNF, improves the immune system. Play actually is vital for our kids or our brains to focus more and learn, and build new growth in our brains and improve self-esteem.
Wow, I never thought play was just like so important.
Yeah.
It's really
And it's fun.
It's fun. Yeah. Sometimes we need to listen to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes fun is what makes life worth living.
Yeah.
So how would you talk about anxiety and being on social media, but for some people it's just so hard to get off their phones. So how can someone start making the first steps to get off of their phone and to go outside and live life more?
So if you're a parent, I think one of the things that you can do. So let me take a step back. We have 4 big reforms that we suggest in our book. They are no smartphones until high school. And to do this with a group of parents of your kids' friends. And so you delay smartphones. You can still give like a flip phone, or if you really want to, like one of those watches so you can communicate with your kid. So you have a group of friends who don't have the smartphones. And you also, meet up, get the kids together every Friday. You can trade houses and they just play together. This is a really easy, great way to roll back the phones and give back the play. So no smartphones till high school, no social media until 16 is what we recommend, because the biggest harm seems to be during puberty, during this real big change, both in our bodies and in our brains. Phone-free schools, like you were saying in your middle school, but we really need to get it out of high school as well to give back that time. And then again, much more free play, independence, responsibility in the real world. So those are the 4 big ideas in the book. And I think if parents can help there and schools, it'll make it much easier for the kids to do it as well.
So what is for kids, because you're talking about parents, what can kids start to do? Because obviously kids don't really know that phones are bad. They think, oh, I can watch YouTube on the phone, I can play games on the phone. So what can kids start to do? What do you have advice for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think what it is that you gotta, if you've never experienced something else, it's hard to know what you're missing, right? And so we need to get out and have adventures and try to find a group of friends who are open to doing it. And what you can try is, some things is, one of the things that happens with phones is it's often the last thing that we look at when we go to sleep, first thing we look at when we wake up. Try to get an alarm clock. You don't need to use your phone to do that. So protecting your sleep, maybe at meal times, you try to put the phone away for a little bit. There are lots of things that you can do, but I would love to hear what you think. What would work? What would help get young people to try to do more play and less phone?
I think screen time limits are going to be really helpful.
Because 6 hours on video games is, I'm gonna say that's way too much.
Yeah, that's a little. Touch some grass.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we say whenever.
Touch some grass, gamers.
Yeah, that's why
6 hours is a lot.
Yeah, we do like around 1.5, 2 hours. Like 1 to 2 hours, depends. Weekends maybe 2.5, but otherwise usually 2 hours or an hour and a half. Other tips.
It's very hard, right? I mean, for me, it's very hard to manage my time on these devices a lot because in part they're designed to try to keep you on for longer than you
Yeah,
intend.
exactly. Yeah.
But so those screen time kind of like blocks for you, they work. You
Yeah.
find
they
that's
work.
helpful. That's great. Yeah. So I think if that helps you, I'm all for it.
Yeah, because then it leaves time. Then they play like together. We have Legos. They have Legos. They play with. Also like board games.
Yeah, lots of
Yes.
We're
board
lucky
games,
we have a
card
big
games.
family, so we can play board games with each other. We see each other a lot instead. Because I know families where all the siblings are in their rooms on their phones and they barely see each other all
Like
day.
disconnected.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. It's so sad.
Yeah, board games is such a great idea.
Yeah.
And also, just want to reiterate again for parents. Oh, another thing that is great is summer camp. Summer camp is a great place for kids, especially it sounds very special that you have a lot of, in-person time at home. Camps are a great place, if you have a single only child or whatever your situation is. At a summer camp, a phone-free summer camp, you get a week, a month, 2 months of time where you're just immersed with other kids and lots of play. And that also will be a great place to relearn what it's like to have to play and how to do it.
Yeah, you are so inspirational.
So inspirational.
So
Why do you think us kids get addicted to our phones easier than like adults? Because we think we can handle everything.
Yeah, I think us adults think that too. And one of the things about humans is we're not the best judges of our own behavior. And, we evolved for one kind of world. We did not evolve for a world where we could have whatever we want, whenever we want, at any time in our pockets. And it's very hard for us to control that. And it's especially hard when our brains are not fully developed. Our prefrontal cortex doesn't get to its full maturation until our mid-20s. And that is what helps us with emotional control, self-regulation. And so it's the reason why we don't give kids cigarettes. It's the reason why we don't give kids all sorts of harmful products, because we know that they're problematic for adults. And so just imagine how much harder it is when you're young and developing such strong habits. We really need to rethink, how do we relate to these products, both as adults and how it's impacting our relationships with our friends and our kids, but also just thinking about, if it's hard for us, it must be so much harder when you're young.
Thank you so much.
This was amazing.
This is very
let's
fun.
recap your key points. Play is the work of a childhood. This is what all mammals do. We are moving towards a childhood that is phone-based. Our lives are mostly online. We are protecting ourselves too much in the real life, but not too much in the online world. To protect yourselves, we need to implement these rules in our lives. Number 1, no smartphones before high school.
Number 2, no social media before 16.
3, phone-free schools.
4, far more unsupervised play and childhood independence.
Because nowadays kids are losing their creativity. So let kids be kids.
We need more recess. Find a group of friends and go out for an adventure. These are important for us to follow as our brains are still developing, so we can take care of our brains and bodies today by actually living life off your phones and have fun.
Wow, Mr. Zach, that was amazing. We're so thankful for your wisdom and time today.
You guys are very inspiring me. This is the best hour of my week. So thank you.
It's our pleasure.
It's our pleasure. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Zanzari.
I'm Abdullah.
And I'm Imad.
Follow my family and I on social media. Holistic Mom D. Kids need to learn from other kids. Please download our podcast in iTunes and leave a review so other kids and families can benefit. We need to create a healthy future for all of us in the planet. Join us next week for another episode of the Holistic Kids Show, where kids are empowering kids.
Thank you, everyone. What?